last one we wrote got, is the business representative? Okay.
This legislature is beholden to Jewish interests in the campus IPAC lobby.
Alrighty, I'll leave the form open for a little bit longer so you guys can, there's not too many other ones than that. But we'll move on to roll call. Agriculture, Diego. Arhi Maya.
Here.
Arhi Muhammad.
Here.
Esas Isha.
Here.
Esas Alexis.
Here.
Esas Leonard.
Here.
Business Gabby. Business Priya. Cambridge Mon.
Here.
Seaman S. Shree. Seaman S. Maria. Seaman S. Rishi.
Here.
Seaman S. Priya.
Here.
Courtyards Camille. Oakland Ben.
Here.
Den Nun.
Here.
Ellicott Malcolm. Engineering Eden.
Here.
Engineering Graham.
Here.
Engineering Julia. First year Menor.
Here.
Freshman Connection Shub. Heritage Alvaro. North Hill Kelvin.
Here.
Off-campus neighboring Nick. Off-campus neighboring Zon. Off-campus commuter Gio. Off-campus commuter Omar.
Here.
Off-campus commuter Bell.
Here.
Off-campus commuter Ismail.
Here.
Public health Grace.
Here.
Public policy Linnell. South Campus Commons Pragya. South Campus Commons Chris.
Here.
South Hills Peyton.
Here.
Transferred Claire.
Here.
Undergraduate Studies Kiara. We have reached quorum, so I now call the end meeting of the 2024-2025 legislative session to order. And we will start with the finance report.
It's at the bottom. It's at the bottom again. Yep, so numbers on the screen, they will be updated. So we have like a couple things that are pending right now. For example, the environmental justice panel, that change in the CAV reserves will be reflected soon. But those are the numbers for you guys to see. Another thing I wanted to bring up is that, so a lot of your events involve food, a lot of them involve giveaways. So we've spent roughly $350 of the $1,500 total we have this year for giveaways, and we've spent roughly $3,500 of the total around $12,700 we have for food this year. So we are pretty much on track so far, but keep in mind that you could easily do things to get us off track. So try and keep those at bay. And then the last thing I want to say is we don't have too many new bills coming up with finance components this semester, but we will next semester. And so when that happens, please, please, please plan months in advance, right? Like months in advance means you get things on time. It means you get to know exactly what gets funded and what doesn't. And it also means that if I say yes, that we can fund something, that we don't have to hustle on 2 days notice to make sure it happens. And that your events go really smoothly. So please, please talk to Surya first. And if you have any questions about the viability of any finance and funding components of anything you want to do, please talk to either of us early and often. Yep, that's all I have.
Thank you. Next up, the student body president is just going to make a quick announcement.
Alright, well, I don't have my updates later, but I won't be here, I have to leave right after this. But I just really quickly wanted to go over what the bills on the docket under me were about today, and if I could just really quickly answer questions, great. The first one is an act to allocate additional funds to the Gender Affirming Care Initiative with the LGBTQ+ Equity Center. So we have an MOU and basically like a contract, that's not a contract, but it's a contract with them, that goes over our kind of terms and conditions with them. We ran a pilot program through them, it was successful, so we have an actual like agreement with them. They exhausted a good number of their funds for, that they were allocated for the year. It wasn't intentional, the way that they opened the form and closed it was on the emphasis of 75 people filling it out, and so they were only looking at the number, and once they looked back at things they needed to purchase. The Gender Affirming Care Initiative provides free chest binders, tucking tape, and tucking underwear for transgender students on campus. And so once they went back and actually purchased those items, they realized that they were over their budget. So they are requesting that we give additional funds to fund 75 students for the spring as well, which is part of our agreement with them. So that is really just asking for us to allocate those funds back to them. They included a line item budget of what they spent the previous semester and where they have some leftover funds. So the number that I'm proposing is the difference between what they have and what they've requested. So just so those of you who might have been confused on the math there, so no one have any questions about that, the gender affirming marriage. The second one was an active fund a headshot photo with the University Career Center. So it's a little difficult. We got approval from the Student Facilities Fund to do that initiative. The way that they work though is through reimbursements only. So it looks very costly in the sense that it's a $22,000 ask. It's $14,000 for the Iris Air transportable headshot photo booth, which will be available at the University Career Center for free for students to access at any time during their business hours. They're in the Hornbeck Library. And then it's $1,000 for shipping, which brings that to $50,000. And then it's $6,000 for a service fee to access the technology relating to it. So it's almost similar to a telephone where like we can have the headshot photo booth, but in order to actually deploy like the analytics that comes along with it and use the facets of the technology that we would need to track how we actually use it and the metrics and KPIs that we've set for that, we would have to pay for the service fee. So the only thing we are responsible for paying in actuality is the $6,000 service fee. We will be reimbursed $15,000 for the Iris Air. So it's not actually $22,000, but it does have to initially come from legislative reserves as $22,000. But the actual difference later, once we are reimbursed, is only $6,000. Does that make sense? Anyone have any questions on that? Yes.
You already answered one of my questions. I'm glad to hear it's getting reimbursed. I was looking at the document in there. There is an option to lease and an option to buy. We're buying, right?
Correct. Yes.
They're
So,
the same price.
yeah. So we want to make sure that it's accessible to all students. This will still be considered a pilot. That's why we're only paying for 1 year of the service fee. And it will be reconsidered next year. So once they assess like those metrics, those KPIs of how many students used it, how often they used it, when they used it, they will also, because it's a transportable version, they will also be bringing it to certain career fairs, depending on the time of year and what their management looks like. They're internally coordinating their own maintenance with that. So the next step for that is to consider them having a temporary clothing closet where students will be able to like just quickly throw on a blazer, take their picture, put it back. It is a little bit difficult because they don't have a dryer or washer there. So in terms of like maintenance and who would have to like wash those things, that does need to be like figured out. We may work with Search to Restore and some other departments on campus with that as well. So just a heads up for you there. The last one is an active fund, the STAMP Student Mural Competition. So we are currently working with STAMP to do a mural competition, and students submitted a artwork under the theme of community, connection, and creativity. And so they could submit anything as long as it fulfilled like the guidelines and theme. And then the submissions will be assessed by the STAMP Advisory Board, myself and Paisley, using a rubric that's attached in the mural application. And then from there, we'll select a winner, put up the actual invoice afterwards. We just need to make sure that the money is like available for right now, and then we'll do a more detailed one after we've selected a winner. But since we don't meet in the winter, and it should be getting implemented in the winter, we need to make sure that we have it set out now, if that makes sense. Does anyone have any questions about that? Yes.
Right. So for the second bill, the photo shoot, do you know how long, like what the timeline would be for it to be reimbursed?
It depends, because it depends when we buy it, it depends when it actually gets fulfilled, and if there's any issues with the fulfillment, in terms of like getting it to the warehouse here and getting it installed in the university. So I don't actually know when the reimbursement timeline is. Do you know when the reimbursement timeline is for?
I don't know when the timeline is, but I do know who I can ask. I know that they can handle it, so I wouldn't say it would take like more than 2 months. Like,
So we'll probably get it reimbursed back by early spring. So apologize for having to take it out now, but hopefully over the winter it gives them time to reimburse us. Yes.
Thank you, by the way. So it's like the KPIs for this like system show that, use is like, it's like insufficient basically, like it's not like a worthy investment. You don't have to pay the service fee year after, like next year, but what happens like the initial fee? Like is there a way that they can collect it back or just like
left that up to the University Career Center. They understand that we've only agreed for a year, and we've said to them, like, if you still want to do it after this, if it doesn't meet our metrics, then you need to find another source of funding for it, which they agreed to. So that was
That's there.
correct.
Okay.
That's why it's kind of a pilot still. So once if it has been, then we can discuss a little bit more about what the transaction.
So if like the KPIs aren't met, we're just like, we're fine because we're not things.
Correct.
Any other questions?
On any of those bills? Perfect. Thank you all, I really appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to our guest speaker, Jack Lynch. We're going to give him a round of applause.
Is there a remote for the slides, or should I just tell you in advance?
You can just tell us.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be.
So, as we get the slides set up, I'm Jeff Blanchard. I'm a faculty member in the Department of Psychology, but I am currently serving the role as Associate Provost for Enterprise Resource Planning, ERP. What is our enterprise system? Many of you here might be familiar with that, some of you not. It is our computing systems that allow us to do business at the university. So when you are a student worker and you put in your timesheet, you are working within our quality finance system. Our PHR system is our HR system that supports the campus. And then of course there's our student information system. So when you log in and you're looking at courses that are available, thank you, and you are enrolling in courses and you're doing anything that touches on registration, etc., that's our student information system. All of this comprises our enterprise systems. And I'm going to be talking about how we're modernizing all of these systems, starting with this Friday. So, our enterprise systems include human capital management, which is HR. It includes our finance systems, how we pay our bills, do procurement, something you were just talking about, or how we pay for student workers, our faculty, our staff, etc. And then our student information system. So what you see on the screen behind me is that red work stream is our human capital management and finance systems. We've been working on this since 2021, and we are going live with what's called Workday. That is a cloud-based system. And on Friday morning, those of you who are student workers will log in to the Workday system and be able to do timesheets within Workday. So this is an enormous effort. It allows us to move away from mainframe systems. Mainframe systems, by the way, they're written in a programming language that if you're in computer sciences, you don't even learn anymore, COBOL. COBOL is from the Eisenhower era, yet we, as a flagship university, are relying on COBOL for some of our key systems. So we are going live this Friday with those systems. For some of you, that's really not that relevant, it's happening in the background. But what I'm here tonight is talk about something that is relevant to you, and that is what you see there, this student implementation. Right now, you are working on our student information system that is in part based on a mainframe system written in COBOL from the Eisenhower era. That's why you can't access the system at night, because it's doing batch processing, and you can't access it on Sunday evenings. You can't access it on your smartphone. It is something that needs to be replaced, and it's needed to be replaced for a number of years. So we're going live November 15th with HCM and Finance. That has been a marathon, and that is going to affect some of you, the list that you see here. But we go.
Quick and through transition. We were having some issues. Oh, wait. Try now? Wait.
Okay, so that's where I want to be. Yeah, go to the next one. So we're in the PDF and not the PowerPoint.
Yeah, it wouldn't open as a PowerPoint for some reason.
So I'm pressing this for no reason.
Yeah. It's my cue to scroll.
That's right. So the student system is what I'm here to talk to you about. This is something that we've begun building towards. So right now we're staffing up for our team. We have 16 to 20 full-time hires that we're completing by the end of this calendar year. And at the start of next year, we will start implementing Workday, a solution for our student system. And so this will go live in a series of go lives starting in summer of 2017 through fall of 2018. That's when we will be fully on Workday for all of our student systems. We're not replacing Elm's Canvas, and we're not replacing TripEngage for advising and budgets, but we're replacing large swaths of our student information system, modernizing it so that you can actually use technology that you're accustomed to, and not technology that I grew up with decades ago. It really is embarrassing that as students you come to a flagship campus and we're relying on these outdated systems. Okay, next. Have you had your coffee? All right. So I won't spend a lot of time on this. This is just showing you on a calendar what's going to be unfolding. And this is the first meeting I hope to have with this group every semester. I want to come back in the spring, keep you updated, and then following each semester, continue to engage with you so I can update this calendar, show you where we are. We'll also be soliciting input for student advisory groups. We'll have an undergraduate student advisory group who will engage with us, give us feedback about what's not working in the current systems. We know some of that already. And also giving us feedback about the configuration of the new system to make sure it's meeting your needs. So this is COBOL. This is that ugly screen within a student information system. And again, this is not that unusual for state systems. A lot of state governments, state institutions rely on these mainframe systems, COBOL, for a reason. They're robust, they've been reliable for decades, and they are costly to replace. The problem is the people who know COBOL and can program it and run and maintain the systems, they're retiring and dying, literally. We can't hire from the undergraduates because you're not learning COBOL. So at this point, COBOL is something that we don't want to touch because we're afraid if we change it, then we could break it and we wouldn't know how to fix it. So it's critical that we're modernizing the way I'm describing to you. Next slide. So we've heard from students about why know our systems, why can't we access them, the frustration that you experience. We're not serving you the way you deserve. It's been a can kicked down the road for multiple administrations. Finally, it's being addressed, and we're investing time and resources to get this taken care of. Next slide. So over the last year, we started interviewing students, staff, and faculty to understand the limitations of our current system. And what you see on the left side of the screen are some of the comments that we received from students that we were interviewing and telling us the frustrations that they have with the system. It really impairs your ability to do what you need to do in terms of registering, handling your finances, being aware of prerequisites, navigating if you have more than one major, changing majors. All of that is something that we want to facilitate and make easier for you. And on the right side, we also saw that faculty and staff are not happy with the system either. The data are in silos. These different systems that we have often don't speak to one another, and it's difficult to work within these systems, and it's hard to maintain and improve these systems for the reasons I was describing with COBOL. Next slide. So the benefits that we hope to achieve with using this new system called Workday is 24/7 mobile access. I already have the Workday app on my phone. We're doing a soft launch with Workday that started early this morning. Friday morning it will open up to all users, work study students, etc., where you can log in on your phone and you can do things like check your schedule, enroll in courses, check your finances. Ability to do academic planning and some other things. This is the point I want to make to you. I've been talking to this group since 2019. How many of you were students in 2019 here at Maryland? This is an important point. You are a transient population. 4 years seems like a lot to you, but in the lifetime of an enterprise implementation, you will mature out of the system and new people will come in. So I want to make sure that we're engaging with one another on a regular basis. And this is really about you. Those numbers, the next slide, we have over 40,000 students. We have a lot of faculty, but there's only 2,600 of us. And then we have a lot of staff, 6,000 of us. We want this to be a student-driven process. We want this to be a system that addresses your needs, and we can only do that if we're engaging with you and getting your feedback. So again, I'll be coming back to you in the spring to give you an update on where we are as we start in January, February. And then I'll also be engaging with you about the development of an undergraduate student advisory committee. We'll have a graduate student advisory committee, and we'll start that in earnest probably sometime around the fall of 2025. Next slide, I think that might be my last. Yes, so if you ever have any questions, reach out to me. Elevate.umd.edu is our website. This is the Elevate program that's implementing Workday. And you can subscribe to our newsletter, and you can just shoot me an email if you ever have any questions. I want to remain engaged with you. My son went to University of Maryland. He graduated from Public Health Sciences. So not only do I work here, but my family's been educated here. I'm invested in improving our systems. And that's really all I wanted to present to you tonight. So I'm happy to take any questions.
So I'm going to speak here as an hourly student employee, and I believe we are right now like 1 week into a 2-week pay period. So when it seems like the workday will go live Friday, will anything that came before it be erased?
No. So there's a process of data conversion. So we captured all the data in our legacy systems, and we converted those data and brought them into the Workday system. There will be, and you'll get an email if you're a student worker, you'll get an email about first day activities, anything that you need to pay attention to as you come into the new system. But we captured all of that legacy data and converted it and brought it into Workday. The goal is that when we log in on Friday, we are starting where we stopped off with the legacy systems, but now it's all in Workday.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question.
Hi, thank you so much for your presentation. I had a similar question regarding student payroll for certain roles on campus. There's like timesheet requirements and things like that that need to be fulfilled on a separate web portal. Is that still going to be something that's going to need to be done, or will that be integrated into the Workday?
I want to be cautious about answering because just as you know, there are different worker categories and different methods, including we have people who are on time clocks, and we enter swiping in a time clock, and there are other people who enter their numbers in different ways. So when you log in on Friday morning, you should have a note about here are your first day activities, here are things that you should do when you log in for the first time in Workday. And that should hopefully answer your question. If you still have a question, you should check in with your supervisor about how it's going to be managed within Workday for you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hi, so again, thank you so much for speaking. It was really impactful, I think, because I know it's something that all of us have been talking about recently. So something I wanted to bring up is like right now, I feel like a lot of the UMD websites are very, very confusing. They're sort of jumbled and it's hard to get to what you're looking for easily. With this new platform for everything except, I think you said Elms and Chirp Engage, is everything going to be under that one system, or is it going to be easy to find things, or is it going to be again where you have to go through a bunch of things?
I think it's going to be easier. Right now we have multiple systems, multiple software packages that serve our needs in different ways. Some of these are integrated in ways that make it easy. Others are really a silo. You have to log into one system to get something done, log into another system to do something else. The goal of Workday is to have an integrated platform so that all of your information is available to you, your finance information, your student information, your student worker, your finance information, your HR information. And so all of that should be much easier for you to access. And then having the mobile platform, that app, will also make it easier for you to access. The systems that we do keep, like Turp Engage, will be integrated with Workday, so they'll share information back and forth. So all of this should make your experience as a student, and my experience as a faculty member, a lot easier when we're trying to do something as a student, as an employee, or trying to find information. That won't solve all the problems of the websites that you're talking about. A lot of us are just Googling for information because we don't know where to go. The Elevate website, by the way, is intended to solve this in part. Everything related to Elevate is on that website. And we'll continue to update that. Right now, it's very heavily focused on HCM and finance because that's the big bang go live this Friday. But it will start to now ingest more information about the student project and where we are with that. So when you do have questions about Elevate, that's the place to go. Good question.
Thank you again for this presentation. My question is kind of related to her. So you said that once we like sign in, we shouldn't have to sign into like several other different websites just to get the same thing, just like the Studio. But would you need to sign in multiple times a day, like on the app? Like, because I know like we also have to do like the dual mobile thing. So if you sign into like one time, like let's say like at 8 a.m. in the morning on Workday, will we have to sign in again like later that afternoon, or will it be a little?
So that's a good question. I'm not really able to answer it. I think part of the answer is that for security reasons, you cannot remain logged in indefinitely. It will log you out because they don't want someone to be able to come to your computer phone and just have access to everything. But I don't know what those parameters are. So when you ask about, well, if I log in the morning, how long will that last? I don't know what the security parameters are in terms of, will that be an issue that you have to do frequently, or will it last most of the day for you?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you again for your presentation. I was just wondering, have there been successful implementations of Workday at other institutions?
Yes, and that is a great question. It's a question that we were asking back in 2019. Workday is now really being used at more and more schools. Fewer schools of our size, Research One universities. One comparable school that's going live now, they've been live on HCM and Finance for 3 years, I think, and they are now in the process of finalizing going live with student, is Iowa State. It is a land-grant university, it's an R1 institution. It's not as many students, 30,000 and change, I think, and they're successful with going live. There are other smaller schools that are on Workday, and then larger schools that are kind of behind us. The whole University of Wisconsin system is moving on to Workday, and they'll be following in after us. WashU is a large school, private institution. They're ahead of us in going live, I think, in the next year.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I'm an information systems major, so we actually like research all of this, and there have been delays at other major schools, like especially big state schools. And I know like Maryland had a delay, like they were supposed to implement earlier too. I think due to like payroll issues. So I was just wondering like how were those addressed, and do you anticipate like any more like issues like that in the future, and how would those be addressed in the, like the timeline?
What you're describing is the complexity of these projects, right? And you're absolutely right. Delays occur at other institutions, and we encountered a delay. As you noted, it was with payroll. We don't do our payroll. We send our numbers to the State Central Payroll Bureau. They then calculate everything and send it back to us. That integration is an old software system that someone wrote and then left. So when they're trying to figure out how to integrate with the Central Payroll Bureau to Workday, the problems that we were encountering is that the documentation was dated and often inaccurate. And so that's the problem that we ran into. The goal that we have is that we will not go live until we can pay our people on time and accurately, and that we could pay our bills. So once payroll was an issue, that was a blocker. We said, listen, we have to postpone this a year, we don't want to take any risks. The student system will be the same kind of approach. We have an ambitious timeline. It's a timeline that we've seen other schools do. But is there a possibility that we could run into a delay? Yes. My goal, part of my job, is to ensure that we don't do that. But absolutely, there's a possibility that we run into a delay because we know that when we go live, we have to get it right. We can't have students trying to enroll in courses and it's failing them. And so because of that high threshold, that lack of tolerance for any issues, we will delay if it means that we're gonna get it done right. So our ambition is to get it done correctly. We are using an implementation partner that's had success, Huron, with other schools. They did Iowa State University. And we're learning from those other schools in terms of best practices, the mistakes they made, how can we avoid those mistakes? So those are some of the strategies we're taking.
And kind of just like a follow-up, after
Yeah.
that 2028, like, full implementation, do you have, like, plans to, like, kind of audit that and see if, like, after, like, the full implementation, to see if there's any issues after all students get it?
Yeah, I mean, what we're doing with platform implementation is we're using software called ServiceNow, where we're able to look at the tickets, the concerns, the issues that people are submitting, and that will be the metric that we follow in terms of how many problems are users reporting to us, do those problems drop off. The one nice thing about the Workday system is that it is updated twice annually. So it's not like a static software package that 5 years later we're like, oh my gosh, we need to update this, we need to buy a new system. It is constantly evolving, constantly improving, and hopefully providing better service to the users, whether it's student or any other system. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, good question.
Hi, thank you for coming today. So, when you were implementing some of these sites and replacing ones that have been written in COBOL, could you just go into a little more detail about how you're going to be considering your stakeholders, which are your students, in the design of these sites?
Right, so exactly the way I was describing. So one is engaging student government, keeping you informed about what's going to be happening. The other is that we're forming 2 student advisory groups, undergraduate and graduate, and they will be involved in helping respond to questions that we have about how are our current systems working, where are they failing, what problems are you encountering, how can that inform how we design the new system, and then showing you some options in the new system and getting feedback from undergraduates who use these systems. The other thing that we'll do before we go live is we have what's called a mock semester. We'll have students volunteer to come in and enroll in courses within the like we're about to go live, and then we're using their experiences as a final check on did we get this right. So a student advisory committee will be a key way that you will have a voice in participating with what we end up doing for the day. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, do that.
Okay. I remember that you said that, and I think it was Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin
The system, yeah.
they all implemented this. Is that something you'd be interested in for the university system of Maryland?
Well, there are, so right now my responsibility is College Park. Selfishly, I'm focused on us. But there were 5 smaller University of Maryland system schools that have adopted Workday. I think like Salisbury and some other schools for HCM and finance. I don't know if they're doing student, but I think what's going to happen, my guess, this is unofficial, is that if we're successful with Workday, other schools in the state system that are not on Workday may look to us for guidance about whether this might be helpful for them. So it could end up kind of propagating to the state, we'll see. Yeah, you bet.
much for your presentation. So my question was like, what particularly led you to choose Workday? Because I know like some other schools, like my previous institution used like, I think it was called Ellucian, Banner, and things like that. So like, what particularly led you to choose Workday?
Yeah, I could give you a long answer to that. I'll try to keep it brief, but it's a good question about how did we get here. So back in 2019, we had what's called a request for proposals, an RFP, and we articulated what we were looking for, an integrated platform, cloud-based, that could deliver HCM finance and then ultimately student. There are two platforms that can do that, Workday and Oracle, no one else. Those two came in, they did multiple day presentations to hundreds of staff and faculty. We had surveys, so about 700 people attended that. We had surveys from about 400 people who gave us feedback on what they saw in terms of the demonstrations. We had a technical team with over 41 individuals who evaluated over 600 technical requirements. And then we had a financial decision as well. So we looked at all the functional capabilities, and then we said, how much are you going to charge us? We put all that together, and we made a recommendation to select Workday. And that took us about a full year of assessment. You're welcome. I really, really appreciate how inquisitive you are and interested in this. It's exciting, and I'm looking forward to working with this group more. Were there more questions?
Yeah, one question. Thank you for the presentation over here.
Okay.
Yeah, the microphone. Yeah. This last question has me thinking. So, what was the cost, and what is the cost down the road, and how long is our contract? And can you talk more about?
Yeah, I don't have all the details. I'll try to give you the highlights of it. So we have up to an 11-year contract if we exercise our full options. And the 11-year contract allows us to reduce costs, to give us a better deal if we go through the full 11 years. The cost is in excess of $100 million across that 11 years. And that cost includes the subscription for the software. So software as a service, their business is to have you subscribe to their service. That's where they make their money, and that's just buying the software and installing it. For student, that's, I don't know the exact cost. It's probably somewhere $2 to $3 million a year just for the software. Then we have implementation costs with our consulting partner. And then we have costs for all the staff that are involved. So it varies, but there probably will be over 100 people working on this project for the multiple years that I'm talking about. So it is a major endeavor, but it is addressing a key vulnerability that we have. On the flip side, if our current mainframe student system were to fail, that means that we would not be able to have $500 million of tuition that we charge for. We couldn't process those payments. If our student system failed, you could not enroll in courses. It would be frozen in place, not able to advance with your degree. And that's the risk that we have. So high cost, but it is necessary investment to be able to do this. A lot of schools are now making this transition because mainframe systems are just no longer viable. I'm sorry to be a little bit vague about the numbers, but I didn't do all that.
Numbers from the office. That was great. Thank you.
It's a good question.
Are there any more last minute questions? No, we need a final round of applause. Thank you so much.
I hope you all have a strong finish to your semester and enjoy that from the holiday. Take care.
Thank you so much. Now we can move on to cabinet updates, which I'm gonna go to the bathroom, so Leonard gets a chair.
We'll start off cabinet updates with Director of Academic Affairs.
All right, hi everyone. Not not too much from us today. We did finally have our meeting with Sarah from Libraries, which got procrastinated a couple times, so we're excited to finally begin our process on an OER survey and then maybe like write a bill for that. And then on another note, we have 2 more financial literacy workshops left. They're from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. One is on November 18th, and that's about understanding credit and debit. And then November 25th is health insurance basics, and the sign up is in our Slack channel, but feel free to message Lindsay and I if you don't see it.
Thank you so much. We'll move now into the Director of Communications.
I was so excited about my clicker, I forgot to turn it on. My bad, guys. Not much today. Designs for sweatshirts have been finalized, so I'll be hitting you up soon. And in committee tomorrow, we're gonna work on best practices for legislature Instagram accounts. Shout out to Leonard, he's doing the bulk of the work. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for that. We'll move into Director of Research and Technology.
Hi everyone, so right now, the council survey has been completed. There are 2 more requests, so I'm meeting with them tomorrow to figure out how to do that. And then there's going to be a report on the bus survey soon, and I will be also doing deputy meetings. Thank you.
All right, we will now move into Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion.
Hi everyone. There's not a lot of updates, but yesterday we met with Dennis from Director of Res Life to talk about some Res Life issues from student concerns, and then we still have our international student affair that's coming up November 20th from 11 to 2, and then we're just working on finalizing some materials for that. Thank you.
All right, we'll now move into Director of Health and Wellness.
Hi guys, just a couple of updates. Reese and I had the follow-up meeting with HPWS. We have a meeting with Dr. Joshi tomorrow, so if you guys have any questions or concerns, please just slack us by tonight. I have a meeting with Dr. Crawford about the memory box, and then those are just current projects that we're working on. Thank you guys.
All right, Director of Civic Engagement and Governmental Affairs, Shivani or Oscar. No, they're not here. No worries. Please read their updates on your own time. We move into Director of Sexual Misconduct and Prevention. Is Mira here? Nope. All right. Please read those on your own time as well. Move into Director of Student Groups, Gloria.
So we just hosted our leadership summit yesterday. It was great. Thank you for everyone who attended and helped. Shout out to everyone in committee. And then, yeah, I'll be contacting the winner of the speaker giveaway soon.
All right, next up is Director of Student Affairs.
Alright, hello everyone. Also, no huge updates from us this week. I will let you notice that we hope to do a presentation at the start of one of the spring semester GBMs with the results from our complaint tabling. We thought like a cute little presentation would be a great way to do that, and to start some thinking about different spring semester initiatives. Just some updates. These were in the Keep Connected to UMD email, but want to reiterate them. That the dining plan deadline is November 15th. I feel like farmers market, well, I'm said not super important, but the dining halls are going to be closed over Thanksgiving break, so keep that in mind if you plan to stay local. Thank you.
All right, I'll keep going. Director of Sustainability.
Hey everyone, so not much, just planning the service event, and I created a little RSVP.
really appreciate if all of you could make your way to the sustainability folder. Check in there, you'll see it at the top, link right here, RSVP. Please click on that. This is just to give me a rough estimate of who can do what at what times. You can take like 10 seconds, 15 seconds.
Alright, I'm actually gonna, in my capacity as speaker pro tempore, not in my capacity as the speaker, I'm gonna go ahead and make both of them office hours unless you're in those committees, because I guess you'd probably have to attend them. But if you're just a legislator looking for a way to get one of your office hours done, any one of these would count.
Yeah, and so any of those options, we need around 21 people for 2 events to help us get to the 100 service hours. So 40 people. That's
Yeah, and most of the events, like the Weed Warriors one, that's mostly just like removing invasive species around College Park, and then the campus and creek tree planting. We would be planting a couple of trees, so it's a couple of different options. We need permission.
We'll do that then.
Maybe not. Otherwise, coming up, our Deputy Director Alicia has a meeting with Facilities Management to talk about next steps with the TerraCycle and getting that implemented in different buildings on campus, and the feasibility and essentially who would pay for it. So if you have any questions, direct those to Alicia on Slack. And then the biggest thing that we've been planning next week is our Environmental Justice Council. You'll see the bill about it a little bit later. So thank you to everybody in the committee for working on that. And make sure you RSVP and please attend next week. It is 6 to 7:30 in the Stamp Atrium. We will be having Panera, and there will be guest speakers from EPA, where else? Possibly the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, UMD professors, and Maryland League of Conservation Voters. I think that's it. So,
Yes.
please show up.
Also, it should be updated now, so you should be able to access it. Let me know.
Alrighty, Director of Transportation and Infrastructure.
Hello everyone, happy Wednesday. So first up on the transportation side, I have my bi-weekly DOTS meeting tomorrow, so if you have any last minute concerns or questions, just Slack me and I'll add it to the end of my agenda. Another note, you all passed, I believe it was last week or the week before, the SHA Protected Bike Lanes bill. WABA has heard of this through the DDK article, and they are interested in supporting it and working with UMD students in getting those bollards implanted, placed on Route 1. So if any of you are interested in continuing that collaboration, I can get you connected. CTAC is next Friday. I'll have some more updates on the mandatory and non-mandatory fee proposals then. Hopefully I should have the formal docs that I can start sending out to you all for your own personal review. Keep sharing the bus shelter survey. I'm going to be working this week to figure out how we can get it sent out. On the infrastructure side, I had a meeting with BPSA and FM on Monday on how they track and respond to lighting issues and their initiatives moving forward. And big news, they're looking at the fountain to put some lights in there. And I know we've been complaining about that for years. So if you want any more details on that, you can find me. I have my notes on me. SFF is next Friday. Just as like a heads up, I'm going to stay through first reading in case you all have questions on the photo booth or the mural. Reese and I worked closely on those. I'll just be able to answer those as needed. And also we sent out the mini audit, and I'll be following up with the coordinator of ADA to kind of keep the momentum going and making sure that we're actually achieving stuff with this. General updates, I may be hard to reach this weekend. I'll be in Iowa with the rest of the delegation, so if I'm not responding, you can scream at me on Monday. Thank you. And CSAC, I'm actually going to put out like a general question for y'all. If I don't have the bandwidth to do this, but the Campus Safety Advisory Group has requested us to be posting our UMPD student advisory notes as minutes and putting them on our website and giving a link to UMPD to post them on their website as well. So if any of you have some time, are in TNI or in student affairs and are interested in community safety, I would really appreciate the help making these notes for distribution. We can go through that if any of you are interested. But yeah, thank you. Have Have a good rest of your night.
Thank you, everybody. That was so quick. Moving on to our first reading calendar. First of many, we'll start with F-241113A, an act to allocate additional funds to generate for care initiative with LGBTQ plus equity center, which our student body president introduced earlier, but the primary community financial affairs, secondary DEI, and tertiary health and wellness. I just added that if anyone was wondering. Mine's different than Instagram posts. Next up we have F-241113B, an act to host the finals mental health fair. The bill sponsor don't let me know that she wasn't gonna be here. Do any of the co-sponsors want to introduce? Wonderful.
Yeah, so this bill is kind of like self-explanatory, so it's to host a mental health fair, during finals, for students to be able to like relax and have different activities and stuff to relieve some of their stress during that time. It'll be like specifically dedicated to final exams and yeah.
This will be going primary health and wellness and secondary communication. Next up we have F-241113C, an act to recognize holidays and heritage slash history months. Neither the sponsor or the co-sponsor are here. So just take a look at the bill to learn more about it, or the Instagram post. And this will be going primary DEI. Moving on to F-241113D, an act to fund a transfer holiday event with the bill sponsor. Like to give an intro to this bill.
Yeah, so this is an event for transfer students because one of the main problems I've noticed within transfer students is that they have a hard time making new friends and just forming connections because they just came to school and it's hard for them. It's harder than it is for freshmen. So in this event, I'm just asking for money to reserve a room and stamp for 2 hours, which is $150, and then $60.96 for the activities that we'll be having at this transfer holiday event, which includes cookie decorating and just various competitive activities. So it's a total of $210.96 that we are asking.
Amazing, thank you. This will be going primary financial affairs and secondary student affairs. Now we'll move on to F-241113E, an act to publish and advertise the North Hill Community Student Concerns Survey. Would the bill sponsor like to give an introduction?
Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward just to publish like a student concern survey to like hear from my constituents, especially with like laundry machines, because I've heard that's been a big issue. And then to add on, tomorrow I'm going to be having a meeting with Kelly Writing, the Assistant Director of Work Management, who works with the Department of Residential Facilities. So yeah, I think if the survey gets published, I'm gonna ask for another meeting with her. So yeah.
Amazing. This will be going primary communications and secondary transportation and infrastructure. Moving on to F-241113F, an act hosting the Student Government Association Livability Audit 2025. Would the bill sponsor like to give an intro?
Yeah, so fairly basic. We're sponsoring the livability audit. So in conjunction with the tenants union, we'd be going around student affairs, or just be going around to the different apartments